was going to ask you, you weren't always Catholic growing up. What attracted you to the Catholic faith? How did you become Catholic? What was your background before becoming Catholic? And what attracted you in particular to the Benedictines?
There's lots of things in there. Now, in practice, one question at a time there, as brought up a Baptist, Welsh Baptist, because if you're Welsh speaking, you tend to be a free church. And there was a big moment when I was 13. In school, I got involved through a friend with the evangelicals, and it was just before Billy Graham came to do his crusade in England in 1967, but already in the period of just before Easter of that year, I got involved big time with the evangelicals, and so much so that my Baptist minister was a bit concerned because he could see I was going to go off with them altogether, and he discreetly recalled me, and we had a little chat in his place, and he more or less advised me to be careful and not easily to abandon what I was involved with, which was safe. And so the result was I asked for baptism, because as a Baptist you have to ask for it, you see, you're not baptised as a child. So he baptised, I was 13, and it's by total immersion. And then, already at that time, the call had been heard to become a preacher, minister, whatever. And so that was already in place. And as a result of that, things happened as well, which perhaps wouldn't have happened, because if one is going towards the ministry, one is going to be reading history, thinking about one's faith, visiting other churches, things start to happen. And as it happens, in that crucial period, our Sunday school teacher was Dewi Watkin Powell, a very well-known Welshman who became eventually a judge and one of the top men in that little profession in Wales, but a very balanced and profoundly Christian man who had done Oxford and all the rest of it. And in Oxford he'd been influenced hugely by High Anglicanism, but had stayed a Baptist. But he had this crypto-Catholic faith, you see, which was coming across. And what happened was that he'd be taking us to other things, anything from Quakers to Eastern Orthodox, and getting us involved with the wider picture. And in class I might come out with things like this if he was coming out with too Catholic a viewpoint, or I might say something to that effect, and he calmed me down in Welsh, of course. I mean, Idris, if it weren't for the Catholic Church you wouldn't be here now. I explained things, we're coming from something bigger. So okay, I listened. And then years later he'd said to my mother in Welsh, if Aled hadn't been taking so seriously the things I was saying, he wouldn't be where he is now, referring to my conversion to the Catholic faith, you see. So anyway, and he also had a crypto-Catholic faith and real presence of some sort, because he came out with this, you see, when he came to the 6th chapter of St. John. Well, the experts say, he said, well, that actually concerns the Eucharist. Yeah, Baptist Sunday school teacher. So anyway, to cut a long story short, you see, I got involved with the interest in this nuisance of a church, with a Catholic church, I couldn't get away from. Wherever I went on holidays, my parents were modern language teachers, you see, they went all over Europe, and you come always across the Catholic Church, a big giant, you see, and you go to a Welsh village, you have 5 separate chapels, all different. So anyway, I couldn't get away from it. So anyway, I started accidentally walking into Catholic churches, even the High Mass is still, after the Council is happening, still, why are they uncomfortably the real thing, it seems. Anyway, got a long story short, I stopped going to communion in the Baptist church. My mother got a bit irritated at what's going on. You always disappear when communion's about to happen. So, I explained, I think I'm starting to believe in the real presence. What? Anyway, so I started to wander, you see, towards the local Catholic church in our place, which happened to be run by 6 or 7 very English Benedictines, most of them from Ampleforth, one from Buckfast, still alive actually. And anyway, so basically I got started to serve fairly early at the altar, and they gave me instruction. And one day, Dom Lawrence, who was instructing me, said at the beginning of the class, well, I've been talking to Dom Kelly. We think we could for you to go up to Ampleford, see a bit of Benedictine splendour, maybe over the Holy Week, we'll help you to get up there, don't worry about that. Anyway, sent me over to Ampleford, of course met Basil Hume, you come from Cardiff. Your prior was coming up to the monthly chapter the other day. You got a bit drowsy on the motorway. He pulled into the hard shoulder. It cost us £100 to get him out. Anyway, so he received me to the church. You see, I was underage, only 17. Well, actually, it was the novice master. It was Don Edwin who received me to the church, and then he then gave me Holy Communion at the midnight mass at Easter, the abbot, and then Bishop Mullins, who spoke Welsh, he confirmed me in Welsh a month later there in the Welsh Mass just outside Cardiff. And so I wanted to go straight... Oh yes, you're asking the vocation thing. Well, of course, that naturally became things towards the monastic life, because I was brought up by these Benedictines, essentially, and they were there everywhere, doing things very well. So 120 of them, by the way, at Ampleford was a massive community. Impressive. So anyway, so the thing was, they had this school and they had parish, and I was more keen on having something completely contemporary, so I was hoping to go straight from school to one of the nearest monasteries to us, Prinich, which was just outside, just in Gloucestershire there, and I thought they would let me in at 18, 19, and I was there staying for a while, and the abbot called me in, and the novice master was there, and the abbot was there, and I was in the middle, and well, we've been discussing your case. Your parents want you to go to university. We think you ought to actually listen to them. You can come here and stay here over the holidays if you wish, but you'd better go. Condemned to 3 years of hard labour. The classics, you see, classics. So anyway, I was living for the first and third year with, actually it was good. There was a Carmelite house there, and my confessor was a Welsh speaker, and also taught us philosophy. He was living there, so he got me to live with them for the first and third year. They insisted I lived on the campus, the Welsh campus actually, for the second year. But anyway, and I had access to their chapel in the morning before, so that worked out very well. I was sheltered by them. And then I made perhaps a mistake. I didn't go back to Prince. I went to France, because I've been travelling in France quite a lot, and I was interested in France, and I knew they were stricter out in France, so that's how I got over to the very strict French form monastic life there, and I was there for 10 years in France. Now, it's complex what happened afterwards is partly, but not entirely, but partly the fact that I was writing a lot of poetry and that kind of thing in different languages, and that wasn't going down too well, to put it mildly. So anyway, more or less an ultimatum. No, I got the message. So anyway, now I cut the story, which is a bit of a meander, short, and what happened was eventually, I thought it might be possible, after all these years, to actually get something moving in the Welsh Wales. I had the links and contacts, and it might have been possible to get something moving, a centre of prayer, monastic centre of prayer, basically in the Welsh Wales. Now that has since re-emerged more than once. The last time it happened was actually way after ordination, because I was ordained in Italy eventually in this French community, and after ordination I was sent back to Rome, and I was able to do a doctorate. But the studies were useful, because I was able then all those years after to give lectures as novice master and stuff, and then therefore they took me after a long time off being novice master when there was a new prior then, but this is the chance, and I thought, okay, now or never. So I started to make movements to see if I could actually now, with all that experience by then, get something moving in the Welsh Wales, and I got to know quite well the Anglican Bishop of Bangor, who was a Welsh speaker, Anthony Crockett, and was very open-minded, and I could see the importance, have something like a small Taizé, but in the Welsh milieu, in the Welsh Wales, because they had all the infrastructure, the Anglican Church, they have all the old churches, you see. And the Catholic Bishop, who I knew well, because he'd been our chaplain when I was a young man, Edwin Regan, he was okaying that as long as the other one took it on board, basically. So, okay, that sounds okay. But anyway, what happened was that the Anglican Bishop, he was 60 at the time, very young and fresh and open-minded. He was giving books and things. He was very encouraging. He got cancer, so 12 months later he was dead. So, of course, I carried on to see if, well, look, Edwin Regan, the bishop, the Catholic bishop there, would he carry on with this? No way, and so it had to be very much supported by the Anglican Church if that was going to happen at all, because they have all the infrastructure. So anyway, he didn't carry it on, and so okay, I got the message. So I wrote immediately to Ireland, because he knew that Bishop Smith here was open-minded and a good man, and so he wrote back by return of post, and he wanted to meet me straight away. So I could see, well, he's interested anyway. He's taking on people. He's got already other hermits. There, by the end of 4 of us here in the diocese. So they were all nuns, the others. And basically, so I had the idea then of coming back as a pure hermit, then nothing else but to being a hermit, and living in the Athboy area in a caravan there on the family property of friends of mine. And but the bishop had other ideas. He said, there's a house in Duleek we have for you, go and have a look at it. So they took me here, and basically Ellen, who brought me here, said it's a good place to be because it's close to all the main motorways. You can get anywhere from here. It's very good to get to anywhere. So, and also close to the airport. Anything you want is very close. It's a good place to be, and it's also, as it happens, a monastic centre going right back to the time of St Patrick nearly, because St Keenan, who built it, was a disciple of St Patrick, and the monastery's still out there in the back. So anyway, I took it on board, and it worked out very well because the parish priest, we get on very well. He hears my confession every week, and the bishop is very supportive. In fact, I see Bishop Smith every month, and he's very good. So it happened very peacefully. So how did I get on with that? What was your question?
Yeah, no, that's it. And did you find it difficult settling in at first? Like when you come to a new country, you come to a new place, you come to a new people and culture, etc., etc. How did you find settling in?
Yeah, well, there are two things there. I had been involved with Ireland before. In fact, when I was living in that Carmelite place, it was mostly Irish anyway, so I got to know the Irish pretty well at that stage, mentally how they function. Then, now, I was transferred from France to Roscrea in 1986, so I got to know the Irish very well then. Now, there's that period that I didn't settle well there because Roscrea is far more open than what I was used to in France. So I didn't settle. I've been forward in the French training. We didn't just speak. It was very strict in France. So, but the thing was, I knew how they functioned. I liked it. There was a goodness about them, which was good. I was safe there. You see that they weren't. You see, the French sometimes can be pretty idealistic. A rule is a rule in France. You see, in Ireland it's a bit more sort of a rule. So charity kind of sometimes is worked out in a different way. So anyway. Yeah, but then I came back then, but I was always in contact with Ireland all those years. Oh yeah, but then my spiritual father sent me back in 1991 to Ireland anyway. He sent me to Kilnacrod, which is now closed, to the Norbertines, which has a good balance. They had adoration going on all the time, and I liked that lots. The balance was there, and they sent me to Italy, you see. So anyway, basically, I knew therefore how they functioned, and the problem was that we had this awful mess in Kilnacrod in the 90s. I didn't think about it when I entered, but it blew out when I was in Rome. So anyway, I stayed out in Italy essentially at the advice of Cardinal Daly. He was ahead. This was really awful, so stay out here more or less. He was saying, get out here. And I was ordained in Italy, you see, and I stayed there till I came back. So anyway, that's what happened. I know therefore how the Irish work, and the Irish and the Welsh are actually a bit similar. You see, there's a certain similarity in the openness, and there's more openness and kind of expansiveness than perhaps the English pragmatic mind. It doesn't work quite the same way, so we get on quite well actually. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. I suppose, like when you were young, like what attracted you to the Benedictines? Was it just that as you were telling me the story, but was it just that you fell into it, or were you seriously thinking about other orders? Did you think about other sort of avenues in the church, or did you just think
even as a Protestant I was attracted by St. Francis actually, and the first impetus was towards the Franciscans, the Capuchins, but they kept on putting it off. I was too young, and but the immediate influence was those looking after me, the Benedictines, you see. But then I got involved with the strict form. The Cistercian rule is far stricter. It's the same rule, but the interpretation is stricter, and I got involved with that. So it's complex, the issue, but the issue was basically wherever there was coherence, I was kind of interested. The problem with the English Benedictine situation is that they had this amalgam of the active and contemplative life. It's difficult to handle sometimes. It's always been there because they had to do that, but it's not the same as the French pure system of just God. Le vertical.
Yeah, one thing I find about the different cultures is that the French, the Germans, tend to be a little bit more about law and order.
We are strict.
Yeah, indeed. It's but so I suppose that's really it. I suppose I have another question. My last question would be: is there a saint that you feel close to?
Yeah, well, St. David. He combines it all in his person. He's presented with the Holy Spirit, the dove on his shoulder. Of course, you know the story. He couldn't be heard. He was a great preacher. He couldn't be heard. God, you know anything. So anyway, the Lord obliged him, you see. So the saint got out this napkin, this blessed napkin, stood on it, and the ground rose. He goes, oh, all see him. And that Brevi became Llandewi Brevi, and the hill is still there now. It grew and grew and grew. So that's the first megaphone of history. So anyway, but of course, a great preacher. So I mean, the oomph factor when the Welsh preaches, going to whoil, that means going into sail, and then lift off. So, but I'm sure he had it. And the Welsh, of course, when they pray, they sing, and when they sing, they really sing. They go into 4-part harmony, do damage to the roof. Yeah, serious stuff.
And is there a particular prayer at all that you're close to as well? You know, we talk about being close to St. David, but what about prayer? Is there a particular prayer you feel that's a very strong prayer that you say daily throughout your life?
Yeah, well, the Divine Mercy chapter, the 3 o'clock prayer, that's what the phone is ringing now. The alarm is going off, you see, at 3 o'clock, so interpret it off. So that's, you plug into that, the whole power of Calvary there. Yeah, that's powerful. And the Divine Mercy chapter is powerful, yeah. But anything which is sincere, it has to be not just said but prayed. That's the problem with Catholics right often. When we pray, we don't actually engage in automatic pilot. Whereas the old Welsh way of praying, they implore heaven, and there's no expression, they catch hold of the ropes of the promises. Yes, Gavan and Raphael the whole game of, you see, how should I say, wrestling with heaven on their knees. Yeah, but I've seen a bit of that, you see, because they came out of the revivals, and that was, we had the tail end of that. The old men had seen that. My grandfather had seen all that, and they knew how to pray, and they would take off, imploring heaven on their knees.
And the Irish Church at the minute, the vocations are very, very few in number. I think more so for the monastics than it would be for the priesthood. It kind of reminds me of, I wonder if you share this as well, Saint Benedict, who himself, after the fall of Rome, decided to retreat and preserve the faith. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have the universities we have today all around Europe. But would you agree that we're kind of reaching that point again, where there's a need to sort of retreat, preserve, and reintroduce the faith for another generation? Or
yeah, well, I think it's going to happen anyway. I can see it coming. You've heard of Garabandal, haven't you? Yeah. You can see it coming. The warning. It's worse now than when the deluge came. So the Lord will somehow have to get us back to brass tacks, I'd say, and therefore things will work themselves out in a different way if you give them time. It's bound. Something's going to happen. It's bound to happen.
Yeah. So.
But in which case, the beyond will be far more present than it is right now, because people are happy with their life when they've got everything. But take away everything, and it's a different ball game.
I see. Yeah, I think we were just having that conversation the other day about life being living a comfortable life. When we are living a comfortable life, we kind of forget God. We don't feel we need God, and it isn't until our Lord, through certain circumstances, humbles us in a certain sense and takes away the dummy, if you will, we start crying again for God. And then sometimes we go full circle. We go to Mass, we do the thing, we're kind of like the seed that doesn't really take root, and comfort comes again, and a good life comes again, and when we forget God again and we go full circle. Do you find that's the case?
Yeah, even in the war, people started praying a lot in the war. And if you go to poor countries, the beyond is far more present. It's like affluent society that kind of switches off the need, isn't it? We're self-sufficient. Yeah, well, that'll happen. Yeah.
Well, I suppose that's it. Thanks very much
for
entertaining us.